quick Dech Tech on black-red 8-rack that I'll be running for this video series. Core of the deck is unchanged from mono black 8-rack. You still have your 4 Shrieking Afflictions, your 4 racks, 4 Liliana as a dual discard and kill spell, 4 Raven's Crime absolutely necessary, 4 Inquisition, 3 Thoughtseize. I didn't change this from the original Tom Ross list that was out several years ago. Currently I'm actually thinking more about running 4 Thoughtseize and only 3 IOK, and the reason for that being that with dropping Dismember, our life totals are a lot looser. I can play that 1 Thoughtseize, that second Thoughtseize, and lose the 2 life that I would have normally lost to Dismember. And typically, if you're playing IOK on turn 4 and you see Tasigur, Rhino, land, or something ridiculous like this, it's so devastating to have them come down with a Rhino and you lose an entire card. Thoughtseize, to me, is worth the 2 life these days. 3 Wrenchmind is good here. It's much better than the 3 Crime, 4 Wrenchmind. I do like Smallpox. I prefer Smallpox main deck. I like that my deck is creatureless. Smallpox completely obliterates certain situations. It's as good as, if not better, than Collective Brutality against Burn, and I'll show you why in this series. Terminate is probably the biggest reason to play black-red. That and Anger of the Gods. I was having a really hard time wrapping my head around the choices between Dismember, Doomblade, Go for the Throat, and Victim of Night as the main removal in black 8-rack. You could play 1 Murderous Cut, but it's really too slow, and without fetches we're not filling our graveyard fast enough. Go for the Throat missing all of Affinity and Wormcoil, much too unpleasant. Doomblade missing Gurmag Angler, Tasigur, as well as Kalitas. Victim of Night misses Huntmaster, which isn't a lot of Jund miss. It misses Zombie Fish, it misses Kalitas. It's just not good enough. Terminate was the answer, and black-red turned out to be rather easy mana base wise to make this happen. Bolt for another 3 removal. Considering Bolt as a burn spell to the face versus small creature removal, it's way better as small creature removal in this deck, and that's why I'm running 3 and not 4. I have played around with running 4 bolts and 3 terminates, but to be honest, that extra 1 black mana to just make sure that 1 creature dies is so much more important than being able to go upstairs late game. I've literally only won 2 games with bolt to the face late game versus bolting creatures early and getting prison locks in place. Looking at the mana base, 3 Mutavault was probably smarter with 2 color than 4 Mutavault. It does slow our clock down a little bit sometimes, but the trade-off I think is worth it. 3 Urborg is fine. 1 Dakmor for the loop is much better than 2 Dakmor for the loop. Lands that come in tapped just slow you down, and you really are a tempo deck. But having 1 for the loop is fine. 4 fetch, yes, obviously. 4 Blackcleave Cliffs, probably the best land. We curve out at 3 lands, so they never come in tapped for me. Any 4th land I get that's a Blackcleave Cliffs, I'm pitching to Lily and I'm pitching to Raven's Crime. It's been totally fine. This Dragon Skull Summit very well could be a Blood Crypt. If I keep going with this deck and this color combination, I will probably switch that to a 2nd Blood Crypt, but for now the Dragon Skull Summit has been fine for me. Karen's here. This card is such a double-edged sword. You really want the double red on turn 3 for Anger of the Gods, because the matchups where you want Anger of the Gods, you want it so badly on turn 3, on time, that it's worth it, in my opinion, to be running 2 Gravenscairns. Sometimes you'll end up with a hand of Mutavault Gravenscairns and have to mulligan. Very frustrating, but in my opinion the trade-off is worth it. Looking at the sideboard here, this isn't the sideboard for the main deck. This is just a showcase of potential sideboard options that you'll see throughout the series that I've played with in various numbers. Surgical is probably not the best graveyard hate in the deck. In the options, it's been okay for me. It can be nice to Smallpox, Tron Piece, Surgical Tron Piece, Laugh, but it doesn't happen that often. Usually Tron decks will start with a swamp, a forest anyway, just to start getting their stirrings and their Sylvan Scryings off, and as well as to protect against that exact situation if they're an experienced Tron player. Leyline of the Void is, in my opinion, the best graveyard hate that non-white decks have, that black non-white decks have. The fact that it can remove Wormcoil, terminate into an exile card essentially, is such a great thing to have happen. Turning off Dredge completely, forcing them to spend a card on it, it's very nice. Anger and Flaying, you might see me running both of these simultaneously in some number, even running 5 of these small creature board wipes, and that's because Elves, Merfolk, Affinity, Dredge, so many of these wide, fast decks that can get under us, it goes so fast and the matchups become so bad. When they play something like a bunch of tokens, a bunch of Lingering Soul tokens, or they have 2 or 3 guys and you play Smallpox, well, you've just put yourself behind on lands, they've got a board state, they run away with those games. You really want these small board wipes on turn 3 on time, and that's why you'll see sometimes I'm running 5 of them. Damnation sees less play. It does see some play though. And every now and again you'll get up against an Eldrazi deck. They're running Drowner of Hope with the little tokens with them. They could run in Reality Smashers, they're running Thought-Knot Seers, they're staying out of wide range, and they're sacking tokens to Smallpox. It's very annoying, and Damnation is there just for that. I will side out Smallpox for those matches that I'm putting Damnation in, just because I want to hit that 4th land. Magma Spray was a trial for me. It was going into the Bolt slot. It was intended to mess with Kitchen Finks, Eternal Witness, all those little guys that just recur. Recurring creatures are one of the banes of this deck's existence, and Magma Spray is not a terrible choice. I'm still thinking that I'd rather have Flaying Tendrils, Anger the Gods kicking around instead of that slot though. As good as Kolaghan's Command is in a lot of decks like Grixis, it's not that good in 8-rack, and the reason is we don't have creatures to recur with it for the most part. What you want to do with Kolaghan's Command, what the deck wants to do, is 2 for 1 with every card. It's not a burn deck, it's a controlling prison deck. So just discarding and burning the face is just a bad Blightning at that point. What you really want to do with it is do something like kill Bob or kill Snapcaster and make them discard, preferably their last card. That's a beautiful Kolaghan's Command. Every now and again you can blow up something useful like an Aether Vial or an Engineered Explosives, but that's usually not the thing to do. You will see it from time to time as I trial it, but in my opinion Kolaghan's Command is not the best thing in this deck. Pack Rat. I try very hard to play creatureless decks in Modern. That's just my own personal thing. I think it's fun. I think it's awesome to play control and have nothing to defend you except your own spells and wits. That is why I play 8-rack in Modern. Pack Rat, I am testing it. I have played with it. I do kind of have to acknowledge that it is probably the best answer to Tron, which is our worst matchup. So you will see me playing it with there, but I just try not to play Pack Rat as much as possible.